Well, howdy there. This is going to be the most raw, unscripted, honest video I ever do. The truth is, I think I'm dying. I don't actually think I'm dying, but I do have COVID. I've had it for more than a week and it's kind of getting better, but this stuff's for real. So all YouTubers have an I'm dying video. This is going to be mine. I'm dying. Yeah, I should cut that out. I'm not going to. So this video is for anyone who is about to use CPAP, about to get tested, or is using CPAP or bilevel or even ASV and is getting nowhere and you're frustrated. Things aren't going well and you're trying to navigate the system. This video is for you. You can jump in really wherever you need because I'm going to go through every gory detail of it. Let's start out with you're about to be tested. So to get tested, it's really fairly simple. You just tell your healthcare provider, hey, I'm super sleepy. I'm snoring. I'm waking up gasping. I can't concentrate during the day. Just like old Captain COVID here. By the way, this is a field trip for me. I'm on the other side of the bed. It's about as far as I've gone. It's easy to get diagnosed. So some of the methods that they'll use for diagnosis are sometimes just a finger probe, a pulse oximeter overnight. You get an oxygen to saturation index, which is pretty close to an AHI, which is the apnea-hypopnea index, the number of apneas and hypopneas you have per hour of sleep. That's the metric they're going off of. It's not the best metric. It's just a metric that they happen to use. So types of tests, they can do a pulse oximeter at home. They'll do something called a type 3 home sleep study. Generally, a home sleep study is going to be a type 3. And really what it is a breathing test. I don't even know if you're asleep or not. There's really no data with that. There's just breathing, chest and abdominal effort, and then a pulse oximeter, sometimes even body position. That's it. Those are generally auto-scored. Not real accurate, not real good. However, if you have an apnea-hypopnea index that's moderate, so 15 and above up to 30, or if it's 30 and higher, pretty much you can say like, yeah, that's an accurate diagnosis. It's pretty tough to fool that. If you have anything with a type 3 study that's 15 and below, I would really opt for an in-lab study or a type 2 study. Let's go with let's talk about an in-lab study. Actually, it's probably easier. So an in-lab study is when you have all kinds of things: pulse oximeter, body position, chest abdominal effort, nasal flow, like you're breathing, brain activity, all that stuff. And you have a sleep tech like myself. I'm a registered polysomnographic technologist watching you. You're going to get probably the most accurate diagnosis as far as what's going on and observations made. Unfortunately, it's not at your house, so it's kind of weird. And that's where a type 2 study comes in. So I actually have a business where I do type 2 home sleep studies. So the way it differs from an in-lab study is that there's no tech watching you and you're at home. That's actually about it. The other thing is, at an in-home study, you cannot start CPAP. You can't really do an in-lab. You can't do a titration on CPAP if that's a mode of therapy that's going to be used for you. So those are kind of the differences of home sleep tests. None of them, I'd probably say a type 2. I'm biased, heavily biased, because that's what I do. But a type 2 or an in-lab study are certainly the best or the better options. Type 2 studies are super rare, very rare, very hard to find. Unless you go to axgsleepdiagnostics.com. Okay, so you've been diagnosed. Now you have different camps. You have people that are, like I said, in the lower category, really, really low. And you have people that are super, super high as far as their AHI numbers. So again, apneas, how many times you stop breathing completely. Those are obstructive apneas. And then you have obstructive hypopneas. So you're basically still waking up because you're breathing shallows. Then you have respiratory effort related arousals, a lesser form of a hypopnea. Again, you're still waking up because you're breathing shallows. They're all different forms of you're not breathing enough, so you gasp awake. Then you have central apneas. That's where your airway is actually open, but it's kind of a mind disconnect. There's all different kinds of reasons for that, but if that's the case, you'd be put on a different machine or you'd have a different mode of therapy. Let's talk about all the obstructive things though. So your doctor's gonna say, hey, you have obstructive sleep apnea on whatever level. What do you wanna try? So there's different options. So I'm gonna start with CPAP because I've been in this field a long time. CPAP is non-invasive. There's really there's not a lot of downside to CPAP. So you compare that to things like surgeries. There's a lot of surgeries I would say avoid. There's a few things like a deviated septum, like septoplasty, turbinate reduction, removing tonsils. Things like that are actually pretty helpful, especially if you are going to use CPAP, or maybe those are just helpful on their own. And you can avoid using CPAP. That's possible. The other thing you can do if you have a low AHI is try an oral appliance. Those tend to not be as successful as CPAP, but if you're in that low category, you can do a little, the oral appliance would be a mandibular advancement. So you're moving your jaw forward, this clear space in the back part of your airway, so you're not choking. And again, it's successful for, I'll define successful in a minute. It's like 75% of people, oh man, I have COVID brain. Oh my gosh, this is not good. I should cut this out. I'm not gonna. It's like 75% of people with an AHI 15 and below have success. That success is defined by a 50% decrease in your AHI. Meaning, if you have an AHI of 15, it's gonna drop it to 7. So you're still waking up a lot, but you do have some improvement. So oral appliance, only even consider that if your AHI is like low. I would actually say below 5, but that's really not in the diagnosable category. That would be more if you're still having symptoms and you're like, they're not gonna give me CPAP, I wanna try something. Try an oral appliance. Okay, so you have that. Now, you have things like, let's discuss CPAP. You have CPAP. So continuous positive air pressure. You also have bilevel, which is 2 different levels of positive air pressure. I'm a big fan of this because it's non-surgical and just it works for me. I happen to use it. I've been working in the field for a long time. You can say I'm biased. In fact, now is a great time to mention the sponsor of my videos, cpapsupplies.com. Oh, but Jason, you're super biased because you have a sponsorship. I am. And the reason for that is it just simply works. It's non-invasive. And again, there's really no downside to it. Does it have problems with it? Absolutely. We'll talk about some of those in just a minute. So some other options that are popular now are hypoglossal nerve stimulation. That would be the Inspire. So I get a lot of emails all the time about Inspire. It didn't work for me. It's a disaster. It's a scam. I hate this. I have a huge scar. All kinds of stuff. I sneeze and I bite my tongue. I'm not even kidding. There's a lot of negatives with it. And then you have some people they have positive things to say. I always try to drill down on them and, hey, can I interview you? Because it's so rare, but they never really want to talk to me. You're going to misrepresent it because you're owned by CPAP. Actually, I like diagnostics better, to be honest with you. I would shift to try and do. I'll advertise for Inspire if it worked. That's just the reality of it. But anyway, if you're going to get CPAP supplies, cpapsupplies.com. I'll mention them later also because we're going to try to space these ads out. So you have Inspire. It's supposed to work by innervating your tongue, your hypoglossal nerve, and it stiffens it. It stiffens the material. It's supposed to keep it open, keep your airway tense, keep your airway open, keeps you breathing. And I think it does work for some people. It does make sense, but again, there's a lot of downside to it. Okay, so you decide to go with CPAP. What machine should you get? Well, there's a lot of play in there of what people are going to offer you. But what I think you should get is something that is an auto bilevel machine. And so one that I would highly recommend is either a ResMed Air Curve 10 or a ResMed Air Curve 11. I happen to think the Air Curve 10 is better. I have videos on that. I just think it's a better machine. So why the Air Curve? It's a bi-level. Well, even if you need CPAP, these bi-level machines, you can use them in CPAP mode. So if you ever come to the point where you're like, God, I really think I need bi-level, you have a bi-level machine already. And I really wish they would just give people bi-level machines just for that very reason, but they don't. So if you can, the way to get a bi-level machine is really be a pain in the ass about your pressure. And I really can't tolerate this pressure. Do you think there's something else I could try? Like maybe, I don't know, I heard of this thing called a bi-level. And then you'll get a bi-level machine and you can deal with it that way. Now, if you happen to have central sleep apnea, they're gonna put you most likely on an ASV. They might put you on a bi-level machine. They might give you oxygen supplementation. All of those are certainly valid. Follow the advice of your doctors on that one. But run-of-the-mill people, I would definitely go with a bi-level machine if you can, specifically the Air Curve Viato. Let's talk about masks for a little bit. So different masks, you're gonna be told. A lot of people will tell you need a full face mask, like your mouth breathing. You need a full face mask. It's just a better option. You don't have to worry about mouth leaking. That's pretty much bullshit. All masks have their pros, all masks have their cons. Full face mask is usually a lazy option in my opinion. Not on your part as the consumer, but on the part of the person setting you up. There's a perceived, you're not gonna have a problem with a full face mask, so I'm not gonna have to do work later. That's bullshit. They'll even say like, oh, you're on a higher pressure. You have to use a full face mask. That's not true. You can use nasal masks at a high pressure. People do it all the time very successfully. So different masks. I'm just gonna tell you some of my favorite masks in the category and you can try them or not. So some of my two favorite masks or three favorite masks, the ResMed N20, specifically the Air Touch version. It's a memory foam. I love it. For the nasal pillow category, the Fisher & Paykel Bravita is phenomenal. You have one that actually uses no straps at all. That is going to be made by Bleep. You have the Bleep Eclipse with halos, no straps at all, nothing touching your face other than basically these little stickers and magnets stick to it. Phenomenal mask. For a full face mask, I think one of the best ones is a Fisher & Paykel Vitera. That's phenomenal. And then if you're looking more for a hybrid, so the Vitera is a full face, meaning it covers your nose and your mouth. It's gonna be a triangle shape for the Vitera. They have hybrid masks. So it still covers your nose, but it doesn't go above it. It rests under your nose, forcing air into your nose as well as your mouth, but it sits down here. So you have a couple in that. Really, there's three that are pretty good. You have the Dreamwear full face mask. I would actually put that third because I don't like Respironics for other reasons. Mostly they're cancer foam machines. But you have the Evora, Fisher & Paykel Evora full face mask, as well as the ResMed F30. So the F30, Evora, pretty much the same mask. Both good options. That's if you're using a full face mask. Now, who should use a full face mask? If during the day you can't breathe through your nose, I would use a full face mask. Otherwise, I would try a nasal mask. Okay, so a couple problems with nasal mask and with full face masks. Or I should say in general, some problems you're gonna have when using PAP therapy, whatever it is. If you're using ASV, you're using bi-level, you're using CPAP, here's some very, very common problems. Mouth leaking, mask leaking, inappropriate pressure on the correct mode of therapy, or inappropriate mode of therapy. Let's hit these all at once. So if you have a problem with upper airway resistance syndrome or just regular obstructive sleep apnea and you're using an ASV, that's not really the right tool for the job. It's like trying to move a friend when you have a Ferrari. That's not the right vehicle for helping someone move. You want a big ass truck. So if you have central sleep apnea, chain Stokes respiration, periodic breathing, that's a great, ASV, adaptive servo ventilation, is a great tool for that. If you have any form of obstructive sleep apnea, just regular CPAP is great for that. If you have any form of obstructive sleep apnea or upper airway resistance syndrome, bilevel would be the proper tool for that. So upper airway resistance syndrome would be, in general, if you have a low AHI during testing and a much higher RDI, like much higher. So AHI below 10, RDI much higher in the teens or even 20s or 30s. Like freaking COVID brain, I'm totally losing my train of thought. Okay, we're going through different problems that you're going to have. So those are the types of, the mode of therapy is what you want for those. So now the problems you can have like with masks are things like a mouth leak and a mask leak and inappropriate pressure. So mouth leak, mask leak. If you're using a nasal mask or a nasal pillow mask, your mouth is exposed to the environment. The whole point of PAP therapy is you're inflating your upper airway like a car tire. See, I normally edit those out. I'm not gonna. So if you have a car tire with a hole in it, that's not going to serve you very well. A hole in the tire is like mouth leak. So you need to patch that up. The best way to patch that up is using tape. Now I happen to use tape. I think the best tape to use that's also super economical is a product called Cover Roll Stretch Tape. If you're using it, you want to purse your lips together, use nice full coverage extending well beyond the corners of your mouth, turn the humidity down because that will moisten the tape, and that's going to keep you leak free. Now, if you're using a full face mask, well, use a full face mask if you're mouth leaking. Well, no, because now you have jaw dropping. Your jaw falls back. You basically have a flat mask. Your jaw falls back because you get relaxed and you purge air at the bottom. So you need to do something to keep your jaw from falling back. That could be a soft cervical collar. It could be a chin strap. It could be tape on the front of the mask coming to underneath your chin to hold it up. Those are all going to resolve that problem. So there's other products of tape that work really well. There's some tape that sucks. If I survive COVID, I'm actually going to go through all those taping options, go through the finances of it, of like the cost, like which one is best for the cost, which seems to work best overall, and then let you guys decide. But in general, Cover Roll Stretch Tape works fantastic. Oh my God, I'm losing my train of thought. And then, like I said, I think we already discussed mode of therapy, or no, pressure. Okay, with pressure, the best tool you can possibly use when you get CPAP, if you already have it, get an SD card. Make sure there's an SD card in your machine because now it is going to be recording super detailed data. If you're looking at your machine or you have one of the apps and your machine says you have an AHI of whatever, just whatever that number is, it's bullshit. I'm so sorry for the harsh non-Christian cat channel language, but it's bullcrap. The best thing you can do is download a program. It is free. It's called Oscar. It stands for Open Source CPAP Analysis Reporter. There's another program. I'll talk about that in a second. You download Oscar at sleepfiles.com/Oscar. Sleepfiles.com/Oscar. Download it. Some people get this a thing that comes up and it says like, this is malware. It's not going to work. Inside the README files, when you download it, there's a folder. Read the README files because that's the instructions, and it'll walk you through exactly what's going to happen and how to get around it. It should take virtually no time at all to download and install and even import your data. You can have it up and running in seriously less than 5 minutes. It's super easy. I think I even have videos on it. There's also a program called Sleep HQ. Now that is a web-based version where you import your data to the cloud, and it's going to show your breathing pattern or some pertinent information, which I'll get to here in a second. I happen to like Oscar better. only because it's on my computer. It's much faster. I import data faster, and I'm able to manipulate, go through the data much faster. So I prefer it for that reason. Also, you can edit some stuff. That's besides the point. There's a free version of Sleep HQ. Oscar is free, period. And what it's going to do is it's going to open up a whole new world for you of, of data. So you can see your breathing pattern. You can see your leak trends throughout the night. Whatever your machine says your leak is bullshit. You want to look at the leak trend window and see, is it increasing, decreasing? That'll signify a mouth leak. Very easy to see, and very easy to see if any steps you're taking resolve those issues. So leak trend window throughout the entire night. If it looks like a mountain range at any point, it's bad. If it's pretty flat and maybe has just these very thin, pencil thin spikes, that's fantastic. That's a very general rule for that I think will serve you very, very well. It's going to look the exact same in Sleep HQ. Okay, your doctor. Most doctors are very well-meaning. They just don't understand this stuff. So what they're going to say when you go in for a follow-up appointment, which might get you on this channel, your data looks really good, looks great, your numbers are fantastic. Nothing to see here, see in a couple more months or half a year or whatever. And you're like, but doctor, I'm so tired. And like, yeah, but your numbers look good. Okay, so that's a great opportunity to look at Oscar. Your doctor, you're not going to get anywhere with them. So no need to like, you don't know what Oscar is? All this, how do you not know? You're a doctor. They just don't know. So take it into your own hands. You're going to possibly need to alter your own pressures. You might need to advocate for your own change of machine. But usually it lies in pressure and leak. So looking at Oscar, if you see waves that are flat, you see a lot of spikes in the breathing, which is the flow rate data. You see a lot of spikes, probably under pressure. In general, if you're on APAP, you're 100% under pressure. The automatically titrating versions of CPAP and bilevel are terrible. They're so bad. Put it on CPAP, you're probably gonna have to go up in pressure, and you're gonna do a whole lot better so long as leaks are gone. But going back to your doctor, they're gonna say everything looks great, and you're gonna have Oscar to fall back on and say, no, it's not so great. But doctors will certainly gaslight you. They will gaslight you all day. I hear about it all the time. You're not alone. You're really not alone in any of this. If you're frustrated with CPAP, most people quit CPAP because they're gaslit. They're feeling terrible, and their doctor's saying, well, it works great. And oh, maybe it's all this other stuff. It probably is your sleep. It really probably is your sleep. Probably is very fragmented. I do have a business where I analyze people's sleep, axgsleepdiagnostics.com. It probably won't be around because I'm obviously dying from COVID, but it used to be a really good company pre-death. All the data you need is in Oscar. So I cannot stress enough to download Oscar, look at Oscar, get familiar with it, get comfortable with it, and don't be afraid to experiment on pressures yourself. And like I said, I do have videos on how to hack the machines. They're very easy. It's usually a button combo, but look for those on my channel. If you want any more depth on these topics I'm talking about, I actually have an 8-part series, which ironically I did when COVID first came out and I was staying home. Probably gets into more detail on all of these. But overall, that's really all you need to know. Let's talk about products. Know that most products for CPAP, I'm not gonna say most products. There's a lot of products that kind of are a scam. There's some products that are good. Most products are kind of scammy. Or there's other versions of them that are much less expensive. And you're gonna be kind of pushed into these scammy things. Now, I feel like I'm one of the good guys. That's probably what all villains say. I'm one of the good guys as they scam you. I feel like I'm one of the good guys. I never look in the mirror and I'm ashamed of what I did that day. So hopefully you look at me as a trusted source, but I don't know, maybe I'm a villain and just really don't realize it yet. I don't know. That'd be interesting. Am I the baddie? Yeah, editing videos is actually good. I take stuff like this out. So a lot of products are kind of scams. So if I'm going through products I don't think are scams, I think are actually pretty good. There's things like body positioners. So the Sleep Noodle, if you need to stay on your side, is actually not a bad product. It's pretty good. For cleaning your masks, you can use Dawn dish soap and water. That's an option. Those cleaning wipes are a good option. I sell a product called Mask Bright. It's a good option. But Dawn dish soap is super cheap. That works really well. A product that I think is important, but some people don't, the Hurricane Dryer, really good at drying your equipment after using it. Dries out your tube. Some people are going to say like, why not just leave it hooked up to your machine? It's wear and tear on your medical device. Why use the blower when you don't have to? You can use it on the Hurricane Dryer. That's just my viewpoint on it. Using the humidifier, I'm actually against using it. I think if most people keep their mouth closed during sleep, you don't really have a problem with dryness. However, if you do, it becomes a question of, do you use distilled water or do you use tap water? I have a bunch of videos saying, just use tap water, it's fine. If it's not a big deal, just use distilled water, use filtered water if you're more comfortable with it. I don't use water anymore, but when I did, I used tap water and never had a problem with it. I traveled, I actually got COVID in the Bahamas. I was not using water there, so I can't blame COVID on that. I just probably licking doorknobs and elevator buttons is what got me in this mess. But my point is there's a lot of scammy products. Those are some good ones. The Pillow Cube pillow, not really meant for CPAP, but for me, if you're a side sleeper, phenomenal product. There's a lot of products out there, but some of the ones you're gonna run into are like tapes. There's a lot of weird tapes like X shapes. Somnifix sucks. So cover roll stretch tape is really good. Hose holders you don't really need, but I actually have found them to be kind of helpful sometimes. So maybe not a scam, but there's a lot of stuff in there. If you know of a scammy product, go ahead and list it in the description or in the comment section down below. I think I've come to a point where I'm rambling too much. So if you've tried all of this stuff and you're not finding yourself getting to a point where you're rested during the day, certainly reach out to me. I do Oscar PAP Therapy analysis, axgsleepdiagnostics.com. If you do want to buy sleep equipment, I highly recommend the sponsor of my video, cpapsupplies.com. They have a bunch of coupon codes they always give. So Lefty Summer is one right now. It's 25% off. That's great. Any mask or accessory. I can't remember if it's 20 Lefty or Lefty 20. You always get 20% off and then some loyalty reward points, which is great. But I've been advertising for them for a very long time. Never tell me what to say. If I bash a product they sell, they're like, no sweat. So, there's a lot of companies that are not like that. I get hit up with that stuff all the time being a YouTuber. So, to me, that says a lot about them as a company. I think they're great. So, do me a favor, share with me and others in the comments section if you've been through any segment of this, any problems with any of this that you found, and what you did about it, and if what I'm saying happens to be true. I will tell you though, the number one group of people that I talk to through AXG Sleep Diagnostics that have a hell of a time with it, usually the people that quit CPAP are those with low AHI numbers and happen to have upper airway resistance syndrome. You guys tend to spin your wheels quite a bit until you get put on bilevel. So if you feel like you're in that camp, might be upper airway resistance syndrome, best thing to do is just try to find a way to get a bilevel. And that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, this non-edited, low effort video, which actually took a lot of effort, if I'm going to be honest with you. I appreciate you guys watching. I will put links to a lot of the videos I have, such as The description box is going to be filled with links. So there's going to be things like APAP sucks, what tapes to use. I'll put the whole playlist of the 8-part series I did for more detailed segments of this, how to do Oscar, certain mask selection. I'll put those links in the description box so they're easier to find for you. But just know that you're not alone in this. Sleep can get much, much better. You're not doing it wrong. You're just not being given a lot of the information that you need. So you're not alone, and it does get better. I'm gonna leave you with that. This wouldn't be a YouTube video if, one, I wasn't dying, which I am, obviously, and if I didn't ask you to like and subscribe. So we'll leave it with that. I do want to thank the Patreon supporters, the YouTube members. You guys were supporting me all the way up until my untimely death. And just want to say thank you. And if you're watching the video and you made it this far, I want to say thank you. None of the shenanigans I normally do, because quite frankly, I just don't have the energy for it. This is about as real and as raw as you're going to see me ever. This is the boring Jason people get when they do a PAP analysis with me. Very studious, very serious. A little, every now and then a little. I'm rambling again. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Clean your stinky mask with some Mask Bright, available at Amazon. Thank you to all watching, but an extra thick thanks, buddy, to Doug Toombs, Jason Georgiades, Patricia Espelong, Sarvesh Joshi, Stuart Hetherington, Mona Swearingen, Chungtu Chen, Edward Steiner, Erin Stevenson, Deborah Permute, and Shannon Kerr, and another slightly less thick thanks, buddy, to all the other YouTube members, Patreon supporters, and other stuff.